Jones and his moronic comments about a tweet, not a tweet. I don't know if it's a tweet or it's a text message, but Van Jones is going around talking about how Charlie Kirk reached out to him a day before he was killed, and the message was like, "Hey, let's talk like gentlemen and let's have a reasonable debate." And it sounded really nice. The crazy thing is, there's lots of people who have no clue how American media works, in particular the propaganda that is completely taking over our media. So they will look at that and say, "Oh, I hear all these bad things about him, but look at what he's saying. It sounds like he was nice. He's willing to reach across the aisle." The thing is, for somebody who's informed about how this stuff works, how these propagandists work, um, I'm not surprised by him reaching out to Van Jones. It's kind of like when who was the guy who had a dinner with Trump and then he was like, "Who's actually kind of nice?" It's just people are just so stupid, man. Like they don't even. I keep make use this analogy. It's like you're a pawn on a chessboard, but you don't even realize that there's even a chessboard. You have no idea that there's even a game being played at all. Like you just completely have no idea what's going on. Um, so let me explain. And this, I'm not talking about Charlie Kirk. I'm talking about in general. This is what these guys do. This is a standard tactic used by many of the top propagandists in this country. Um, you have this kind of a dual personality thing, right? You pander to some of the most unhinged and extremist people in the country. The reason you do that because these are the people who will support you the most. You get some rabid fans who will walk over broken glass to support you. They watch everything you put out. They're just obsessed with your content as long as you keep pandering to them, right? This is like MAGA, right? That's one of the big advantages of the MAGA movement. You have some of the most unhinged, like just absolute freaks in the country that they'll walk around with these MAGA flags and hats and lots of free promotions, and they'll go around selling the gospel about how Trump is the greatest person in the world. So pandering to them and saying what they like to hear is like big reward ratio. This is the same thing that Charlie Kirk did, and I shouldn't talk about him. It's not about him. This is the same thing that many of these propagandists do, right? Again, they target extremists, whether it's left wing extremists or right wing extremists, right? But the really smart ones like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro and others, they realize that you can only go so far with that. And if you want to make the real money, you've got to have another side to you. You gotta do this thing where you try to pretend to be reasonable, right? So you will say things like, "I actually support free speech and I just want to have conversations." And you know, I, people say, "Oh, people say you're racist." I have no problem with anybody of any race. I have black friends and I have Asian friends, and I believe that all people have value, and this is like the most amazing things and nicest things ever, right? And people who are under your spell, they will take that and be like, "Yeah, see," like you can be successful just being an absolute creep and just extremist and pure hate. But the real money is where you can balance that out with playing the good guy, right? Um, like Ben Shapiro does this very well. He, is extremely divisive. Almost every video is like the left, look what the left is doing. The left. He picks out the craziest person on the left that he can find. Somebody that an average person living in a blue area has never even seen anybody that much of a freak. That's what he points out, trying to paint the entire left as if they're just a bunch of blue hair freaks, right? That's what he does, right? But then if he goes on a mainstream show, right? And that's the other thing. Like if you listen to his show, the way he talks about liberal media, this and blah 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 blah, you would never think he would ever want to go on a mainstream media show, right? But that's only if you don't understand the game that's being played, right? Ben Shapiro and others like him, the game is make as much money as you can get, grow your channel as big as possible, expand your reach as much as possible. That's the goal, right? So you go and you talk about mainstream media this, mainstream media that, but you are so happy to get invited to any kind of liberal show, any kind of mainstream show. You finally made it. You know, after all this talking about Hollywood this, Hollywood that, Hollywood invites you, you're taking it, right? But you know that you're not in a right wing circle. So you try to expand your brand. And this is one of the reasons why you really want to reach across the aisle, is because you'll go on these shows and you'll twist people, right? Because many people on those shows probably heard things about the crazy stuff that you say, and people say you're white nationalist, you're racist, whatever it is. And then you go on the show and you act extra nice, right? So polite, so respectful, and you say things like, "I don't believe in the left versus right. This is not about left versus right. This is about the elites versus the regular people." You know, all of a sudden, like if you're a right winger and you're doing this, all of a sudden you start talking about things that you never talk about on your show. You might talk about healthcare is a problem and the corporations. Like when you talk about corporations on your show, it's these woke corporations. They're so woke and the woke, right? But then you go on a mainstream show, and all of a sudden, you have a different critique of corporations that almost makes you sound kind of like a liberal or someone on the left, right? So you have these people that are like independents that they don't really know you, they don't know the games you play, they don't know how the propaganda works, right? But they have heard on those shows that you're a horrible person. And then you get on there and you're like, yeah, both sides and this and that and no left and right. And they start scratching their heads and saying, wait a minute, I wonder if I've been misled. This person seems kind of nice, seems kind of cool, right? Again, it's the same thing with whoever that loser is that had dinner with Trump, and he was like, it's just I don't know, the lack of critical thinking in this country. Whoever that moron was, I think this person literally thought, like they literally thought that the character that Donald Trump, the reality TV star, plays on TV was the real Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a reality TV star, right? All that attacking people and blah 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 blah, it's all an act, right? He's performing for his base, right? If he has dinner with someone who is a host of a more normie liberal type show, he is going to treat you like with so much respect. Like, and I don't need to have dinner with him to know that, right? Especially someone like me, for example. Here's another example, right? If I were a moron, right, and I actually think that Trump is like really the character he plays on TV, and somehow I get invited to like a Trump event, and I get to meet Trump, right, and I'm a moron, right? Trump would probably be very, very nice. In fact, I would expect him to be super, super nice to me. And the bigger of a following that I have, the more nice he would be. The darker my skin is, the nicer it would be. And me being a moron, I'd be like, how is he racist? People say he's racist. And look at how nice he is to me. I've met people who look like me and they don't even say good morning to me. And he was shaking my hand and complimenting me. And he was so, like, I don't know, people. And it's just like, that's the game, right? That's the game. If I'm a far right extremist and I want to expand my base in that way where I don't want to just have just an extremist, right? Then I need to get my reputation laundered by any kind of a liberal, mate with a liberal host or whatever. Like the Young Turks is playing that part so well. Like having the Young Turks come on, Anna Kasparian, like agree with you and nodding and whatever, right? That is how, when you look at like these people, why are they so wealthy? Why is Ben Shapiro so wealthy? Why was Charlie Kirk so wealthy? Why were they so successful? Because they use these top tier techniques, right? But Van Jones, being a moron, I think he really thought that Charlie Kirk was the way, people presented in his echo chamber. Like he's this white nationalist guy. Like I looked into it. White nationalists, they don't appreciate him in terms of his Jew support. They love the work that he's doing, but they don't claim him, right? So calling him a white nationalist, I think, is kind of like calling Denzel Washington a gangster. Like Charlie Kirk was playing a role, right? I don't even know if he was even racist. He might not have been. He was certainly pandering to racists. He certainly didn't mind being called a racist, but was he actually a racist? I don't know. But people like Van Jones, they really are just as dumb as the right wingers that thought Charlie Kirk was this great guy. Van Jones probably literally thought all the stuff like he's this white nationalist guy and he's trying to blah, 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 blah. Charlie Kirk was just trying to make money. He was just trying to grow his channel. He was just trying to make as much money as possible, have as much subscribers as possible. And he didn't really care about the cost, right? It hurts the country, so be it. It hurts people, so be it. Um, it's just greed, right? Greed, like you see all over our American media, right? It's not a right wing thing. Right wing is the worst of it, but across the board, American media is just completely, it's completely propaganda, and I mean that absolutely and literally. But propaganda is all over our media, from CNN to MSNBC to Fox News to the Young Turks to David Pakman to Brian Tyler Cohen to Tim Pool, Steven Crowder, formerly Charlie Kirk. Like, it's just propaganda, propaganda. Adam Mockler, Luke Beasley. It's left wing propaganda, right wing propaganda. On the corporate side, the propaganda is more purely from a capitalistic point of view, right? It's like what gets ratings. Let's pander to the ideology of our audiences. But we just have propaganda all over the place, right? I don't know. It's like, I feel like we need to teach kids how propaganda works. It seems like a lot of Americans just have no clue that there's even a game, much less how the game is played. Like, that's the thing. They don't even know that there's a game. It's not like there's a game and they're trying to figure it out. They don't know there's a game, right? They don't recognize, like, left wingers legitimately watch left wing content and think that the people are listening to are just like left wingers who agree with them, as opposed to people just saying whatever gets them clicks. The sooner that people realize how disingenuous these influencers and content creators are, I think the sooner people will get closer to reality and truth. Our media is filled with characters playing parts just like in the movies. The sooner you embrace that reality, the sooner you get closer to the truth of what's happening in this country. Anybody shocked that Charlie Kirk sent a message to Van Jones that sounded nice, and if that surprises you, you got no clue, man. This is what they do. All of the best players, this is what they do. Look at how many people Tim Pool has had on the left, right? Tim Pool all day long going after the left, but he'll have them on. Charlie Kirk will have them on. That's insane.